And I get these baskets by going from winery to winery in February and January and asking them if I could please have their prunings. And they're usually very, very happy to let me pick them up. And I ask a friend with a truck to come with me, and we just load up truckloads so that there's plenty for the coming year. This wreath is made by twisting your grapevines in first forming a circle, then twisting the next grapevine in one direction, the next one in another direction, until you have a really nice weave pattern. Here is a basket made by Chris Vanderholm, which is one of my students who took the class with us here at the Lake County Museum. As you can see, she has a little bird's nest in hers, too. These are especially nice for Easter decorations because of the little bird's nests. This wreath is called an heirloom wreath, and the reason it's called that is because it lasts from generation to generation. It doesn't get moldy, and it doesn't get so that it flakes away or anything like that, but it keeps its form and its color for many, many years. This type of wreath is also the kind that brides wear on their heads when they get married. Okay, let me give a short demonstration of how this wreath is made.
Count of 3, okay?
Okay.
1, 2.
It until it forms a circle, like this. Hello, my name is Eugine Stedman, and I've been teaching wreath making and basket weaving here at the Lake County Museum for the past 3 years. This is an example of some of the wreaths that are made by myself and my students. I must say it was very hard for my students to bring their wreaths for demonstration because they didn't want to take them away from their own homes, but a few of them did. One lady who did's name is Chris Vanderholm, and this is a beautiful wreath that she made during one of our classes. As you can see, it has a bird's nest and it's very neatly put together. This is made by intertwining grapevines. First, a circle is formed, then one vine is twisted in one direction, and when that one's finished, another vine goes in the reverse direction. And you keep going and going until you get a really nice weave like this one. Okay? Flower or heirloom wreath. It lasts for many, many years and can be handed down from generation to generation. It's also the type of wreath that a bride might wear on her head. It's made with moss and dried flowers. I'm going to give a very short demonstration of how this is made. It's very simple, and yet this is the most expensive type of wreath one might find in a store.
1, 2, 3.
Hi, my name is Eugine Stedman. I've been teaching wreath making and basket making classes here at the beautiful Lake County Museum in Lakeport. I'd like to show you some of the wreaths and baskets that were made by my students and myself. This particular wreath was made by me. It's a grapevine wreath, and it's made by domestic grapevines, the kind that are grown, the grapes are grown for wine, and there are many, many wineries here in Lake County. I acquire all these vines by going to the wineries and asking them if I could please have their prunings during pruning season, which is anywhere between January and March. This particular one was made by one of my students. Her name is Chris Vanderholm. As you can see, it's very neatly done. It's got a little bird's nest here, and this type of wreath is perfect for your Easter decorations in your home. This is called an heirloom wreath. It's made with dried flowers and moss that can be gathered throughout Lake County. I'll give a short demonstration on how this is made. Simple wire hanger that we push and pull and bend until it forms a decently round circle. Then what we do is we wrap it with moss that I have gathered, as I say, in the area. In the higher elevations, near a creek usually, is where you'll find it growing the thickest. It grows mainly on oak trees. What we do is we just encircle the hanger with a nice fluffy layer of moss. Usually we use wire. This happens to be fishing line. Once just push our flowers in through the moss. Now this particular group of berries has a very sturdy stem. However, if you want to use something like a mustard flower or another wildflower that has a very flimsy stem, what we do is take a pick and a piece of wire and pick around the very flimsy stem until it's splinted, and that makes it sturdy, so that can also be poked through the moss to form another beautiful object in our wreath, like this. And as we keep filling up the moss with more and more flowers, it becomes totally covered like this. That's the heirloom wreath. Hello, my name is Eugine Steinman, and I've been teaching basket making and wreath making here at the Lake County Museum for the past 3 years. I also teach poetry and art. When I first came to Lake County, I was really impressed with the beautiful gathering grounds that are throughout. Wherever you drive, you see something you'd like to bring home and put in a vase or make an arrangement or a wreath out of. And I started doing this in my own home for many years, and then finally I decided that I'd really like to give classes. And because I like to gather so much, I gather my own material for all my classes. This makes my home look pretty much like the countryside of the county, and that's just great with me because I love it so much. I feel very comfortable outside here. One of the wreaths that we've worked on is the grapevine wreath. This wreath is made with domestic grapevines that I collect from the prunings of the local wineries. This one was made by a student of mine named Chris Vanderholm. As you can see, it has a little bird's nest on it, and it was one of our Easter projects. It's a very neat wreath, and she did a beautiful job with it. This is the larger grapevine wreath with several decorations and also a little bird on it, nice for Easter too. The dried flower or heirloom wreath. Heirloom because they last for many years. It's also the kind of wreath that a bride might wear on her wedding day. This is made with local moss that grows on usually oak trees in the higher elevations near a spring or a creek. I'm just going to give a short demonstration on how this wreath is made. Wire hanger that's been bent into pretty much of a circle. And then what we do is we wire the moss all around it until it's totally covered like that. Then what we do is simply apply whatever kind of flower or color scheme we want. I bring a very large selection of dried wildflowers with me. Now this particular object has a very strong stem and can be put in just pretty much like that. For the ones with the softer stems, however, we apply a pick to the very bottom of it, wire the pick on, and that forms a splint, so that too can be placed within our wreath. That pick technique makes almost any flower able to decorate your wreath, even if it has a stem that's so soft it would just crumble in your hand. Somehow it will stay with the pick, and wired on will make a perfect decoration. The wreath was made by one of the students who took the classes. Her name is Rosalie Grossner. As you can see, she really went all out in size and used some very interesting decorations. That's also been made with a domestic grapevine. We also made this lovely basket out of grapevines in one of our grapevine basket classes. Soaked for at least 3 days before they're flexible enough to be woven into a basket. So it's quite a messy project, but well worth it, because there's nothing more satisfying than going home with a basket that you yourself have made. And they're so decorative and so loved by the people who made them that I could only get this one lady to bring hers in, because the other ladies just didn't want to part with them. Jewelry tree. The large branch here is manzanita. These are different objects of jewelry that I've made with the plants that grow in the county. This is bamboo, black bamboo, that happens to grow in my backyard. These are manzanita apples, the large brown ones, and the little orange ones are toyon. And it makes a very, very attractive necklace. Made of pine nut shells. The pine nuts come out of this type of pine cone. The very large pine cones that sometimes have a sugary substance on them. When they're shaken or dropped to the ground, the pine nuts will fall out. By grinding each end of the nut and poking the meat out, a beautiful bead can be formed. These are traditional pomo beads. The lavalier in the middle is made from a branch of manzanita wood, sawed, shaped, and drilled. It can be worn like this. See, the manzanita is white underneath. Is made with manzanita apples, as you can see here, elderberry wood here, and tiny little toyon berries, as you can see here. And also makes a very pretty necklace, as I will demonstrate. Model. Okay. Jewelry making from natural materials is my real love. It just seems to me to make sense to make beautiful jewelry from the things that grow around us, because they lend themselves to making it so much. The elderberry, for instance, has a very soft center, a pithy center. So you can just about poke a needle right through it as soon as it's cut, and it makes these beautiful wooden beads. Has an abalone pendant, which has been polished and drilled. This bamboo-looking plant is actually called phragmite and is native to Lake County. The green beads come from the orange and then red, will be used and will retain their color through each stage. Phragmite, the white, and the green are the madrone, and the red are again the toyon. with the Phragmite and the red madrone berries. That is a little older, at a different stage than when they were green, and larger too. This red will maintain this shade of red for many, many years. Things that I most like to do is make these, what I call centerpieces out of natural materials. These are wonderful things to make for people who are shut in, who can't go out and see the scenery. They're also very nice for holiday decorations, for centerpieces for your tables. Very unusual, and they're bound to bring lots of compliments. This one I call Arbor Pond Park. As you can see, I use mirrors to reflect the beautiful foliage that I put around the mirrors. The way I make these is to take a piece of redwood bark and then, with a drill, make holes that are filled with hot glue, with a hot glue gun. I then can plant trees of any size within these little gardens, and they'll stay standing up. They won't fall down. I try to put things around the mirrors that look really nice reflected in the mirrors, such as an arbor, so that when you look in the mirror, you can see that the arbor is above you. I make little benches out of redwood to put here and there, preferably by one of the little mirrors or ponds, as I feel they become once they're put in. I make these benches out of redwood bark. So it looks as though somebody, a passerby, could just sit down and take a rest among the beautiful flowers and scenery, all things that grow in Lake County. The white rocks, I feel, accent and also show how one might get up to this bench by climbing from here to here and perhaps using a rock as a foothold and finally reaching the top where they could sit down and rest on a bench. Okay. It's called Rockwood's Rest. I use the beautiful serpentine and the beautiful golden rocks that I found here in Lake County, and I just hot glued them around the foliage. I'd like to turn this around so you can see the other side too, because the rocks are just so beautiful. There we go. Rockwood's Rest. And it's a rest because it also has a little bench standing on top and another little bench down here. This is yarrow that grows profusely here and there throughout the county. And this is bay, California bay, which has the flavor of the other bay leaf in it and can be used in cooking just like any bay leaf can be. This is bamboo here. And the brown plant is dried goldenrod. I use some very pretty deep green moss here and there on this one too. And some manzanita blossoms that are so very, very pretty, as you can see. A piece I made called Blue Rock River with the blue serpentine, the golden yarrow, the redwood pods, and the little river, the Mirror River running through, and the deep green moss that you see on the other side. Blue Rock River. Basket I made myself out of grapevines, and I filled it with moss and what's called an Osage orange, O-S-A-G-E. Believe it or not, these grow wild in the woods of Lake County on what is called an Osage orange tree. The wood from this tree is so flexible, the Indians used to use it to make bows. In fact, it's supposed to be the finest bow wood that you can find any place. I also used some beautiful pieces of serpentine and these long pine needles. figured like you'd braid hair, somebody's hair, and because the grapevines are soaked for so long, they're flexible enough to be able to do that with. Tom, you're very much for making this beautiful tape, and for the students who were nice enough to bring in the things they made in my classes. Thank you very much, and thank you to the beautiful gathering grounds of Lake County.
I gotta have a little action. Pick your nose again. Let's see. Oh, that's good.
That
Now,
good?
That
work?
you don't have to play with your nose. Okay. Put two hands on the hips. I need some action. Yeah. Now touch your two elbows. Try to.
His whole picture was on the whole front of it. And this old gentleman, well, he's not that old. He's in my clogging class.
Yeah.
He's older. Walks up to me and says, "Who's that?" And I said, I went like this. I said, "That's Neil Diamond." He said, "I didn't recognize him in the valley." I could have kicked him.
Okay, hey Sandy.
Yes.
Pick your nose again. Two fingers.
Okay, here we are. The art show, Larry Layton. Welcome to Larryland. Lots of bright colors. Take a visual trip around the world. An abstraction, a Zen picture, kind of a man falling. It's implied action. A lot of times what's shown in a picture is more important than what you don't show. The space between the lines. So you bring your concept to the picture and fill it in. Same thing here, like with the birds. It's an implied movement of birds flying. And it's a nice grouping. And snail, of course, is there. It's a landmark. It's kind of an oriental type feeling picture.
Oh, here? Okay.
Yeah. But the interaction between the birds is really kind of interesting. I like that.
Yeah, this one it looks like it's kind of falling. It's like sideways or something.
Yeah. Now if we scan over this way a little bit again. Each grouping of these paintings here is of a different area or a different place in time. This is a picture here of Afghanistan, where I spent quite a bit of time. And this is a swing, which they've used probably for a couple thousand years. It's a pole that's put in the ground. This top portion turns, and each kid is very acrobatic, swinging around. This would be like a mud fence in the background, and people are always stopping by to watch. It's a lot of energy, and it's a very bright, vivid place. This would be some of the robes that perhaps they wear over there, which they consider themselves one of the lost tribes of Israel. These are like the robes of Joseph. They're out of silk, and a lot of times they have patches on them, and those people would be called like dervishes, wandering dervishes, which comes from the whirling dervishes. But the robes are very, very beautiful. They have sleeves down to your knees, and very rarely. Usually they'll just tie the sleeves around the neck, and they don't actually put their arms in the sleeves. So it's almost like a cape.
Yeah.
But this one is Beauty in Afghanistan is Freedom, which is actually... this will take place either through most of the Middle East. It's a tea room, where these are like a rope table here, and every one of these would get shoes. They had these great Afghani shoes which curl up in the end. Usually you take your shoes off. This guy is polite at the moment here. And they serve tea, and it's a great custom, probably about 4 or 5 times a day, where you exchange views and gathering. It's usually before and after prayer, which happens 5 times a day in Muslim countries. You know, you'll have a break for tea, and it's kind of a laid-back, family kind of atmosphere, which is very nice. This is kind of an oriental kind of feeling picture here. A girl washing her hair, and some kitties and some puppies, catfish. This is a Daruna doll, which is made out of gourds. You keep knocking it down and it stands up kind of like a Joe Palooka. And that was Daruna, who was a monk who fell down a lot in life, but he always came back up again. So that's one of the playthings usually the Japanese have. This is a Hindu deity riding on a tiger. They usually have their vehicle, which is usually an animal spirit, very much like the American Indians. And you can see a lot of watching the master painting. And for a lot of years when I played with a reggae band, I used to do portraits with either hand. I would do left and right hand and play a flute from the mouth, which is essentially 3 different areas of the brain. And then I used to dream about putting paintbrushes in my feet also. And doing it all at the same time, but then I figured I would end up in the circus. And I didn't want to make, become a sideshow. So, but that's what essentially he's doing. He has a paintbrush in each foot and each hand.
Wow.
And each one is a different avenue of the brain. Okay, and it's just a part of the human potential movement, which I was trying to tap into. What really is our potentials? Are we evolving as a species, or are we dissolving? Living with a lot of primitive people, they can do a lot of things that we can't do. And maybe it's because of our conveniences. It takes away our natural abilities. So that's basically what that implies over there.
And
Thanks for
also
coming,
this
Bruce.
lady.
Yeah, well, that was actually from Hindustan, from India.
Oh, from India?
Yeah, where they have to carry everything on their heads, and she probably has some knock-kneed between her legs also, and they usually have to walk a number of miles to get the water. So as much water as you can bring back at any given time, it
It
saves
must be
trips.
heavy.
Yeah, but they're very graceful and very beautiful. It's
And is this from India as well?
no, this is Afghanistan.
Oh,
Okay, these are children in Afghanistan. This is in a courtyard, the mud courtyards.
right.
And they're playing a game that they play in Afghanistan of tag. And they play tag with a piece of silk. So they get very acrobatic because the silk kind of waves, and it's very theatrical. And
It gives them a lot of space.
yeah, and as usual, there's always a bunch of kids watching and participating.
I see.
And the colors are very bright because the sun is pretty intense in the summertime anyway.
You certainly captured the bright colors.
Well, thank you. This one's another game in Afghanistan. This is inside the courtyards. And this is a game that they call Heaven and Hell.
Oh,
Where everyone kind of covers their eyes, and these girls are passing a stone back and forth. And you have to guess who has the stone.
aha.
And if you guess incorrectly, then you're in hell. And you have to stand up and sing a song in front of your friends.
Uh-oh,
And there's
that's
nothing more
hell.
persecuting than that, right? So,
And now this fellow here, he looks like he's meditating.
yeah, that's that was actually a very young Sakamuni Buddha
Oh,
way back, yeah.
in India.
In India, but it's kind of a Greco style. This is actually, I think I saw a little picture in Afghanistan because Alexander the Great came through Afghanistan and the Buddhists were in Afghanistan, and there was a merging of a Greco-Buddhist kind of art. So that's why he looks kind of Greek
How
also,
interesting.
but it's Buddhist.
Very interesting
It's a
combination.
crossroads, yeah.
And this is definitely Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, that's feeding the birds and on a tray, and just nice interaction among different
Yeah.
people and things.
Very beautiful.
So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a magical dreamscape kind of picture, and this character here kind of evolved from a dream. And he's the mad fiddler, as I call him. And walking through my dream peacefully, this guy dropped out of a tree and started fiddling madly in front of me. And not knowing what to do, I danced. So it made me laugh in my dream, and I figured if I laughed in my dream, I might laugh if I saw the picture too. So it's a happy picture. It's a musical picture.
I really love his eyes. It's beautiful.
Well,
eyes.
he's kind of me, and this guy just jumped down in front of him and said, "Whoa, who are you?"
Oh,
And that's the mad fiddler. So that's the origins of that picture there.
And this one?
This is kind of a self-portrait in Chagallese.
Yes, it is Chagallese, isn't it?
Chagallese, yes. And a lot of personal images that form, and it's
Beautiful picture.
yeah, it's kind of a surreal kind of picture. Really.
Seems very romantic.
Yeah, well, essentially I'm romantic, but I just don't have enough of that at the moment. This is from playing with the band days. This is Joe Spleef, bass player in the Flow Band. And
Is that what he has in his mouth?
Yeah, we
His
formed
namesake?
the band, yeah. And he's the bass player, wonderful bass player. Bass and drum is all you need in reggae. And hopefully a poet too. But that was done on the spot there at one of our concerts.
This looks like angels.
Well, this is a part of a Bible series, a biblical series. And this is Jacob with his dream with his ascending and descending angels. And that's the Heaven Reggae Band playing in the background. But it's a nice little picture. It's kind of a magical little picture. I like that one.
I imagine there's a staircase behind the flower.
Yeah, well, that's what it's kind of going. They were ascending and descending, up and back and forth, and that was his vision. This down here is another biblical picture of Ruth from the Bible, with married Boaz, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's a kind of a magical picture. It's a very warm picture. It has a lot of inner warmth to it and stuff. You can kind of feel the sun of that area where it permeates everything with the mud mosque in the background and harvesting of the wheat. And we got this over here. I don't know if you can scan over. Can you zoom in at all on these? Can you zoom in and out? Possibly? Okay, this is this image here would be from Alice in Wonderland, where the caterpillar is sitting there and he says, "Who are you?" And it's a good question to ask yourself throughout your life. So these are just different images of who we might be or I might be. And I could be a ludicrous person, I could be a holy person, I could be an Eastern person, I could be a crazy person, screamy person, all different kinds of people at different times. But it's good to see who you are at any given moment and essentially unite that into one, which is the meaning of it all. If you can kind of zoom in and
An interesting picture. How's words come about?
Only the goodness of the generous remains. It was from a poem that I wrote about 4 years ago. And if you look at your life in retrospect, the only points that you remember are positive moments in your life. So it's good to be generous, and it's good to be positive. This is a fusion picture. It's a fusion between abstract and decorative and real. And there's a lot of elements going on in this picture. A lot of the abstraction to say how we're a part of the universe, but a lot of the decorative to say how we're a part of a particular culture and the human race also. The sun and the moon are basically Tibetan symbols. So there's the universal nature of day and night and the endless seasons. And the positive and the negative, which would be Chinese for the yin and the yang. It's a strong picture. It works well. With the lotuses also flowing throughout it. The poem wasn't bad either. Chagall-esque kind of picture. It's a very musical picture. With people doing acrobats, doing flips, and fiddlers jumping through the air, and seeing the heart, which is the image that I use for myself. The ladder, which indicates ascension, and may your ascending be blessed with rainbows along the way too. Musical picture. It's a happy type picture. Moving over here, this picture again of meditation, just exuberance. It's a very calm picture, but there's a lot of colors exploding also, which occurs in meditation. So achieving the nothing also puts you in touch with everything. This series here is part of a Dance of Life series. Because everybody does a different dance throughout life, and they give off different energy flow. This particular picture is an abstraction of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And these are a few musical notes of different passages that go on in that monumental piece. This here, again, is a dance of life, different energy flow, almost a Tai Chi kind of posture, Chinese emblems for eternity within the body contained. It's an abstraction, but there's enough realism that you get an idea of where it's coming from. It's a strong picture in its own right. Again, it's conceptual. I don't know if we can scan up here just a long, spontaneous kind of piece here with flowing colors. Sometimes these I call nature pieces because nature brings out the colors and brings out the movement, and sometimes a lot better than we can just with individual brush strokes. Feeling, it captures the feeling very well. This is a side panel to a bed. There's another matching one on the other side, and a headboard and a footboard, and we call it cosmic bed. It's an interesting series. We have that in a different show. Okay, moving over here. Yeah, this is a Chinese poet, Lai Po, and him with Tufu were two of the most well-known of all Chinese poets. But he used to write his poems very much intoxicated. He could run off 100 verses just at the drop of a hat. This is classical Chinese, and this is grass straw writing. There's two different forms of Chinese. This is more about the provinces floating upon the wind is pretty much what that says. Lai Po was a great poet, and used to love to write about moonbeams and things of that nature. And eventually he died. He was on a boat, and apparently he was intoxicated, and the moon was out, and he wanted to embrace the moonbeam on top of a wave. And that's how he died, trying to embrace the wave. Wonderful poet, though, wonderful poet. Down here, if we drop a couple
Mahatma
of
Gandhi?
He's a little hot. Mahatma Gandhi here, one of my idols, and there's a little quotation here from Einstein, which is, generations to come will scarce believe that such a one as this ever in flesh and blood walked upon the earth. Very pure soul, just did wonders. It's a watercolor, and I think it captures his likeness pretty much.
Definitely.
It's his inner being that's really important, though, not so much the physical likeness. A little picture up here is a picture of Vishnu sleeping, and his consorts massaging his feet, and from a lotus in his belly button here is Brahma, and those would be Hindu deities, part of the triad of Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, who are essentially one being. He's laying down in a five-headed cobra as his bed, and that's their pantheon of God, which their culture has stemmed from. Coming down here again is another Eastern kind of picture here, based pretty much on the yin and yang, the meditating day and night. This picture is day up here at night, and I know a person who I did a bigger picture of this pretty much of, and they would rotate it as day and night goes upon their wall.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, but this was just a quick sketch, but the images is nice, so I decided to put it up here.
I like that very much.
Picture of Maimonides, who was a philosopher, Hebrew philosopher, and this is kind of an abstraction of his image, the hand symbolizing the seeking, different figures who were scholars, and one of his famous sayings was, "Teach thy tongue to say I do not know, and thou shalt progress," which is a good thing for us to remember. It teaches us humility and being able to listen to our neighbors. Again, this is part of a biblical series over here also. Daniel in the lion's den, and Nebuchadnezzar in the hand reaching down, writing, Meditical, so whatever. And he asking Daniel, "What does this mean?" Daniel says, "You're not going to like it. It means you're going to die tomorrow and your kingdom's going to fall." So it was a prophecy, but it's an image from the Bible. It might apply today to America, I don't know. Again, another biblical kind of image here is King David. And, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, and famous 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. And I didn't know if he played a big harp or a little harp, but I know he liked to play the harp. A powerful figure from the Bible, an inspirational one too, and maybe we get peace coming from it also. So let's make it modern day also. And we can scan over here. A little out of order, but this is kind of an oriental kind of image. It's a stylized birds along a waterfall, and it's a musical picture. It's very musical. The original one was done in watercolor and has a lot of movement. This was done on a board, but it's you can feel the music singing and the birds singing, and it's kind of a lyrical kind of picture. It's very poetic. This is my date for the evening. He's a hairy one. Okay. Moving up here is a picture of the Buddha's birth. Buddha was supposedly born from his mother's armpit. The first 8 steps he took, he left a lotus, which is where they get the Eightfold Path from. And over there he's announcing himself that I'm the one, I've come. And it's kind of a magical picture. There's a lot of spaces that go on around his mother and in the sky, which really make it pretty interesting. It's kind of a magical picture. And probably will be donated to the Dharma Realm University over in Talmadge, Temple of 10,000 Buddhas, where we're going to paint some murals later on in the year also. It's a magical picture. It's pretty nice. Let me see. Can you scan over here? Or can you get? It's a very lyrical picture. It's trying to capture the motion of the horses as they prance and play in the field. And there's a lot of movement to it if you look at it. Children happen to love this picture very much. It's a large picture, and it covers a wall pretty well. The horses establish different colors. When I showed this out on the coast, the Mendocino coast, the last show, an art reviewer saw this particular horse, and he thought of Franz Marc, the Blue Rider movement, where Franz Marc did blue horses. And so that's at least what it was compared to. But he was a little more Cubist orientated. But there's nice movement. It's an alive picture, and I'm glad we got at least a record of it here, which is nice.
Very
There's a picture kind of looking down on some birds, some cranes, and the water itself sets a nice geometric pattern along with the rocks. And the contrast would be hot and cool. The rocks being very kind of warm colors, and the water establishing cool colors. And it creates a nice contrast and tension between it. The composition itself flows nicely, and I think it produces a nice picture. The birds themselves are kind of lyrical, and they kind of dance and interact between themselves. The rocks in their form are kind of musical, because they're kind of moving around and look like they're dancing, almost like trees.
I like the circular form.
Yeah, well that's basically that's just a technique to frame the picture, and it's a little bit different than the usual square format. So
Right.
it's I think an Oriental technique. And, I think it works. It's a good picture, good color composition.
I like that eye in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, that's bringing it down to like the whirlpool for water and stuff. And it's kind of like a mandala.
It is.
This picture here on top is a sunrise ecstasy through the window. Oriental kind of figure is seeing a sunrise, and he's just in sheer ecstasy. He's either chanting to the sun or just happy to be alive for another day. It's a strong picture. It works well. There's strong colors. In the show out on Mendocino Coast, this was the favorite one of the reviewer. And we've got a very good review out there. did a woodcut of this about 25 years ago. So the figure is pretty much ingrained within myself, and established. He comes back at various times, I guess, when I need a friend. Moving down a little bit here is part of a Guatemalan series. These are watercolors, and this was a Guatemalan lady with a kind of festive flower kind of hat. And it's kind of the angle is kind of mysterious. It creates a certain aura around the picture, which that whole series possessed, and it's kind of an interesting composition.
Where's the rest of the series?
They're mostly in my studio at this point.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. They also worked in Indian store.
Oh.
But it's an interesting composition. The colors are
Beautiful.
very vivid. The South American, Central American, Guatemalan colors are very beautiful. Most
You
of
can
this is all embroidery and the flowers hanging in the hats. It's just a wonderful, wonderful culture.
I like the way you can see part of her face, too.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of at an angle. It just sort of implies it. Again, some of the best things in a picture are not put in the picture. It's for you to bring to the picture. Okay. Kind of a long vertical kind of picture. It's off a fable, a Persian fable, which I heard going through Iran about Marjan. Marjan was a man who fell in love with Lita, who was on the other side of the country, and he never saw her, but he heard how beautiful she was. And in his mind's eye, he formed an ideal, and thus became, in his quest to meet her, the perfect lover. He loved everything. It was the only way he could ever get to meet her, by being perfect, because he was poor and she was rich. So at this particular juncture, it's Marjan in the wilderness, where he loved all the animals. And that's why they came and they were friends with him. And it's based on like Persian miniature kind of painting, which I also did bit large as murals in Afghanistan. The concept of taking something that's very small, 6 inches, and doing it 20 feet.
I bet they love that.
Yeah, it was, I used to paint. I start painting at about 7 in the morning until about noon every day. And a good 200 or 300 people in the village would come and have their tea and their hot bread, their long flat bread, and talk. And that's how they would start the day in Afghanistan. And I was painting these beautiful mud walls that have been standing for 500 years. So it became a part of the culture. But it's a very musical picture. The Persian miniature is very musical. They have flat areas of decorative color, which it's a different perspective. More different perspectives that you can understand, and more different techniques that you can understand about ways pictures are made, the more you can understand the different psyches of each culture and the way different people think and view the world. And each one is valid. No one is more valid than another. So this is one of my favorite pictures. This is an Oriental. This is almost a Chinese type painting where there's implied distances in the background and the intermingling of both water and sky. A lot of times they see the sky as water, the water as being the sky. Reverse perspectives. Seeing sound, hearing fragrances. It's a complete expansion of nature. This is a Chinese view of the world. Implied images and implied depth. The Chinese live with the concept. That's why all syllables, everything comes from one syllable. So to them, a word is sacred. A word means a whole meaning. In this country, we learn by symbols, by syllables. A lot of syllables make up a word. A lot of words make up a sentence. A lot of sentences make up a paragraph. Very rarely do we get truly to a concept because it's too much in between. The Chinese work back from the concept to the sound. Each sound is a complete concept. So each one of these pictures is a complete concept. I don't have to put all the little syllables in here. Sometimes it gets too cluttered. Sometimes it doesn't. There's no one right way, but it's good to see how the Chinese view the world, as it's good to understand how we develop our ideas and concepts. A series of pastels we have over here. This is a Tibetan lady, which is in the Himalayan mountains, and it appears to us that she's sticking her tongue out at us, but in Tibet, formal greeting is to stick your tongue out at somebody. And so it's not something that's obscene, it's just a form of greeting. So it's good to understand different cultures because someone might be trying to say hello to you and you might be offended by them. So, and that would just be basically because of your own ignorance. So it's good to develop where people are coming from. It's a bold picture and it's for a lot of purposes done to create understanding, hopefully. Little pastel down here would be Moses and the Burning Bush. Again, it's part of the biblical series. And it's a kind of an expressionistic kind of picture where the expression is there, the feeling is there, free movement of line. It doesn't have to be totally realistically depicted because we have the concept, we have the story, and I just have to put the images down because you, the viewer, completes the picture. And that's a communication between the artist and the audience, which is important. The pastel series, this is a Mongolian person, not a Mongoloid, a Mongolian. And it's done with the day-glow colors because as I saw the face, it had a great iridescence to it, and it glowed, an inner glow.
Where did you see him?
Saw him in Chinatown. And he was Mongolian, he had this big Chinese kind of hat. And did a little sketch at the time, but the colors etched themselves in my mind, and myself being a colorist, a lot of these deep colors are, my unique signature. It's a strong picture, and it works pretty well. This one down here, continuing the pastel series, is just a street scene of a Chinatown, and just the movement and the hustle and bustle on the street. It's more of a Western viewpoint of a Eastern kind of scene because I put in the perspective here with going back with the lines and things like that, which is kind of a classical Renaissance kind of touch where they did everything with perspective. But again, it was an attempt to make a fusion, the Eastern energy done in a Western perspective. And the vibrance and the colors and all the banners and the signs and the storefronts, very much similar to the bazaars that they have in the Middle East. I mean, it's a truly Eastern touch to have the little stalls and the little shop owners. It's a wonderful experience, and there's a lot of energy there, which I tried to capture. Okay, this picture here is flamingos. And it's, again, kind of an expressionistic, impressionistic kind of style here where we have the reflection coming back in the water, a little scene cutting back through the rocks to a little domestic kind of scene, which is a little bit mystical with a flute player and the little child dancing and kind of peeping in here with his hands over his face. Kind of a mystical little touch, but it's more the movement between the birds and the waterfall flowing down. And the picture moves very well, even the lines in the rock. Sometimes in nature is always alive and always moving. And it's an Eastern concept to see rocks flowing, almost like waves. And these rocks flow almost like a waterfall as the water flows like a waterfall. And it's a liberating sense. It's a very poetic kind of picture. Moving down here, it's kind of an expressionist picture of horses, just the exuberance of a sunset. And the horses are in the meadow, and just as they interact with each other, they kind of move. It's a grouping, and just to see the interpersonal relations among animals, among people, just the expression of life. And as the sky's alive, the hills, the meadows, the water is all alive, the horses are alive. And it's a picture that celebrates life.
Do you think I better move my car?
It's a picture of a camel. It's kind of a stylized camel, and camels are very, very humorous, I believe. And their facial expressions and their bodies are kind of bizarre also. And this one happens to be down on his hind legs, and he's a little distorted. You're looking kind of up at him here, which I thought was a unique angle to pick the camel at. Camel in Persian is called shitar, and you can purchase one for about $20 in Afghanistan. incredible creatures, truly beasts of burden. But again, this is like Persian miniature with the way the tree is done here, with the bird nest back here. And again, the flowing of the mountains. The flowing of the mountains, the very lyrical tree, which is kind of dancing. It gives it a musical tone. The colors themselves are kind of musical, with the warm and the cool. And it creates a tension and a contrast. We have kind of a fairy tale kind of picture. It's kind of a personification with the animals, the way they're have definite personalities. It's a little abstraction, but the viewer brings the concept that he knows this is a family here. And even though it's kind of implied here in a little abstraction form, it's interesting because it creates a movement, and each one has kind of a personality, a little interaction between these animals. This one, the baby kind of moving along, the father looking down. It's essentially a primitive kind of picture. It's a primitive style, and children happen to like it very much. I think it works. The picture is a pastel. It's a pastel on wood, and it's kind of an impressionistic kind of scene. It's obviously a spring picture, where you get the feeling of the blossoms and the birds flying around. But spring is here, and it's a picture of courtship, a man on the horse, the maiden there with the flowing river, the bridge going over. It's a real magical picture, I think. I think it works very, very well. The softness of the colors, the pastel kind of shades.
It looks like an illustration to a fairy tale.
Yeah, it's kind of a fairy tale, but spring is very much like a fairy tale. It's a nice, soft kind of picture. It's an oriental feel to it again, which a lot of my motifs come from. I see a lot of magical and things everywhere, really, but from the Orient, the images are good to show here in the West. When I go to the East, then I show a lot of Western images, so I don't think it's totally out of proportion here. Okay. A palette, so this is my palette, and on one side goes the paint, on the other side goes the painting, which is only fitting. So this is this is a tiger, and I used to have a big block print when I was in Afghanistan of a very similar tiger, which is what we used to take to the bazaar. Whenever we buy spinach and potatoes, you throw everything in that, and then you wrap it up and put it on your shoulder and take it home. So that's basically where that image came from. They have a beautiful, primitive kind of art form, along with just about every other kind of art form, but this was like the primitive folk art among the villages and the people, which is very beautiful. We've seen some in woodblock prints come over in tapestries and things. But that's the palette. And that's Dance of Life series, where everyone does a different dance throughout life and giving off a different energy, because each of our metabolic rates and our thought rates give off an energy flow to the universe, which is a light show for the stars. And every positive thought supposedly makes a star shine. This is Dance of Life. This would be Shiva dance, who's a Hindu deity, and giving off spirals into the universe with different energy from the body. Shiva does the Dance of Life, which keeps life flowing. Moving down here, again, is another Dance of Life. Ballerinas doing a dance, giving off nice colors, musical energy, cool colors moving up to warm colors, a nice energy flow. Nice energy flow within the body, too. It's an abstraction, but it has realistic meaning. Tiny little picture up here is the music of the spheres. Each sign of the zodiac, whether it be Aries or Cancer or Libra, Pisces, Capricorn, Gemini, each has a corresponding musical note. And each constellation has a musical note. And this is something Pythagoras studied, and that's where we get the music of the spheres from. This is where we get our Euclidean geometry. This is where we get just a lot of laws of harmony. And that was just a kind of an abstraction of that. Here is a beautiful example of a spontaneous nature painting. with solid masses and complete vibratory energy going around it. Some of the energies and the textures really imply a lot. This itself is just a beautiful picture into itself. It's an abstraction, but within it people see a lot of meaning. It's just the interflowing of colors here. Truly beautiful, truly beautiful. It's a simple little picture, but it works. It works. A picture from a place in Lahore, Pakistan, Shalimar Gardens. And the same person who built the Taj Mahal built these beautiful, beautiful gardens. And this was just a girl who was playing a sarod, which is like a sitar, by these fountains. And I abstracted the picture somewhat. There's another chalk drawing existent of this, which with pastels, which is a little bit softer, but just the composition flowed nicely. And then, you can see the Mughal kind of architecture going back here. And a lot of this really had a lot of inlaid work at the time also, which is very reminiscent of Shah Jahan. Okay, moving up here is a figure walking above the clouds, and that's from a haiku I wrote many years ago. Years after years after years, I still walk above the clouds. And as a poet, sometimes it's good to walk above the clouds. So that's what essentially this is. It's a lyrical kind of picture. It's basically an illustration for the poem.
And this looks very interesting. Sort of a combination of Chagall, and the clock reminds me of Dali.
Yeah, it's a combination of everybody who's gone before. It's a self-portrait, essentially. The language is Chagallese. This is essentially, after I got shot, there's 5 bullet holes here, and the palette means I'm an artist. I put my head on upside down, but I'm essentially just a large heart. I always hear music, so there's the bass man, Mr. Bassman. I've been told that someone like me comes along once in a blue moon, so there's a blue moon with a cow jumping over it. People say I do tricks with time, Back to the Future and stuff like that. So I got time on a yo-yo, and God always gives me feathers to find, which means I'm supposed to keep on singing and dancing. Stand for peace, so there's the dove, and I'm essentially a singing heart, which sometimes cries. And there's some celestial music for you. It's an honest picture. Moving down below here was just a marker drawing of. There were probably about 500 marker drawings in that series of when we used to play with the band. It was the Flow Band. We used to make reggae music for 6 or 7 years, and there's Tony Miles and Joe Spleef and Celestrius Bryant, and we used to travel on the road a good 6 days a week at least, and put out some good records. But that kind of captures the moment of the club scene. Moving up here, one of, in my opinion, the 2 very nice buildings of Lakeport. This is the old Carnegie Library down in the park. And this was, I guess, done a couple of years ago, Lakeport Centennial. They have a sign in front, and it's not used, but I think it should remain. It's one of the landmarks that we have here. It's all ivy covered with palm trees, and it's a very good location. That's a pen and ink sketch with pencils too. And so again, another little marker drawing, traveling with the band and stuff, and I guess I was drawing my own hand at the time, which means the music wasn't that good that night, I guess, or my hand was very musical. It was a good subject matter. Okay, this bit large painting over here, that is Eugene Stedman.
Oh, this looks to me like a beautiful painting of our weekly summer concerts. The crowd is just beginning to assemble, and it grows and grows as the evening progresses.
The concert series, summer concert series here in Lakeport by the park. The gazebo that they just got finished building a couple of years ago, and the bands will perform, and various people will be just starting to arrive here, bringing picnics. It's a time where the whole community gets together every Friday evening in the summertime, and people bring picnics and dance, and it's a nice atmosphere. This building here in the background was the old library. It's a nice setting. It's a good touch for the community, and it's a good statement that Lakeport makes. And this squirrel is a friend of mine. He starred in a series with Bowie. Okay. Thank you, Joe, very much.